Welcome back to Milan Recording Studios. My name is James Pavel Shakras, and in today's video I have two of the world's best-selling digital pianos sitting here right in front of me. The one on top is the Yamaha P125, and the one on bottom is the Roland FP30, both of which are bestsellers in their price class, and both of which do have some positive aspects and some negative aspects to both of them. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is talking about these positive and negative aspects and trying to figure out which one might be better for what type of person and what that person would need from a digital piano or want from a digital piano of this price point. One of the first things I want to talk about here is that I went out with my own money, myself, and bought these digital pianos for the studio here. Yamaha didn't send me this and Roland didn't send me this, so as a result I don't owe either company anything in particular, and so I'm not being endorsed to say nice things about one or the other. On the other side of the coin, I have no reason to say negative things about either one of these other than for the fact that there would be flaws. I have no reason to trash talk either one of these, so what you're hearing in this video is my honest opinions. So let's dive right into it, I think, and let's play some music here on the FP30 and the P125, and then after that I'll talk about some more details about both of these instruments. So, as you can hear, the Roland FP30 does sound different from the Yamaha P125, and the biggest reason, well, maybe not the biggest reason, obviously Roland is going to have a different sound and different approach to the way they create the sound for the FP30 than Yamaha did. But one of the reasons the FP30 is going to have a bit of a different sound from the Yamaha is the way that I have to record it, and this brings into the video the Roland's biggest flaw. In some of the other videos I did of the Roland FP30, I almost genuinely sounded mad about this flaw with the Roland FP30, but I've had this thing a while, I've kind of grown a bit used to it, so now I can be a little bit more calm when I talk about it. But the biggest flaw with the Roland FP30 is the fact that there are no line outputs. The Yamaha P125 has two proper line outputs, one for the left channel and one for the right channel in the back of the instrument, as well as two headphone jacks that, if I remember correctly, yeah, they're right up here. So it has two headphone jacks that you can use, which is great, and it also has two proper line outputs. Now, these both, of course, are the same size, the big 1/4-inch jacks, but just because they're the same jack size doesn't mean that they are identical. The line outputs, and basically anyone who knows anything about audio stuff will know that proper line outputs coming out of a instrument or an audio interface, whatever it may be, proper line outputs are higher quality sounding than a headphone jack. And so as a result, because the Roland FP30 has no line outputs, that is a limiting factor. First of all, it's not going to sound as good if you're recording it directly, and also one of its biggest limitations is the fact that you can't use it as well on the road, not on tour perhaps, but on location. The Yamaha P125 is a lot more versatile in that way. Because of those line outputs, you can either use it at home and practice on it at home if you wanted to, or take it out to a local restaurant and plug it into a little small amp to make it sound a little bigger and better and play for the people in public. And so it will sound a bit better than if you did that with the Roland FP30. So that is, I think, one of the biggest limiting factors for the Roland FP30, and one of the main reasons why I would not recommend it to somebody. If you're a person who is looking for a simple, basic digital piano that is only going to stay at home and only is going to be used for the piano sound, the FP30 is something to consider. It would be a viable option for that. But if you're looking for something that you can practice on at home or take on location, the P125 is definitely going to be a much more viable option. And this is kind of what I see a lot of these digital pianos being good at, is being good at being a home practice piano and or a cheap entry-level stage piano. And that's what the P125 is good at, but not so much for the Roland FP30. So that is the biggest flaw with the Roland FP30, and to be honest with you, there is no equally massive flaw with the P125. Is it perfect? No, and I will talk about some of its little flaws here and there, but overall, it's a very well-rounded digital piano. The FP30 has a couple of other relatively large flaws that I will talk about here later on in the video, and actually I think I'm going to talk about one of them right now, because I was going to say, let's move on to another sound, and that brings up the other flaw. In my opinion, one of the other biggest flaws with the FP30, and that is the way that you select the sounds and the user interface as a whole, really. For the Yamaha P125, to select a different piano sound in the piano category is simple. We have an array of buttons here. This one says piano, this is electric piano, we have organ, clavinet, vibraphone, strings, and bass. To select a different piano sound, I push the button, and now we have a different piano sound. Bit of a brighter, colder tone. If I push the button again, we have another piano sound. That sounds like a slightly more mellow version of the piano we had at the beginning, and if I push it again, we have a fourth variation. Seems like kind of another bright type of piano, and then if I push it again, we're back to the default. So we have 4 variations for each sound, and you get each variation by just pushing the button over and over again, and there's a nice indicator light that tells you which sound you're on. For the FP30, it's not as easy. You do have a similar setup. You have a piano button down here, you have an electric piano button here, you have an other button here. So at first glance, it may seem easier than the P125, but to select a different sound, I can't simply push the piano button over and over again and toggle a new sound. Watch. That's the same exact sound every time. So how do you change sounds? Well, you hold the piano button down, and then you push a black key in the bass end register of the piano to change the sound. That's a different piano. This is a different piano. This is going to be a different one. And then we have a harpsichord, I think, next. Yes, I do, and I think that's the last one. We have a doubled harpsichord, and that is the last one. So to change sounds, you do that. In my opinion, I think that's a bit clunky and just convoluted and complicated, not only because they're not labeled whatsoever down here, and there's also a arbitrary list of numbers here that you'd think would apply to the sounds, but they actually have nothing to do with the sounds, so the sounds themselves are not labeled. But on top of that, in the others category, there's like 20 different sounds in the others category alone, which I think goes all the way up to here. So remembering which key activates which sound is pretty much impossible. If you owned this thing for 6 months and played with the sounds every day, you probably would be able to, but that is going to be difficult. For example, the electric piano category, I think, has a clavinet sound. I think it's this C sharp. No, I'm wrong. Is it this C? There it is. Okay, I was close. It was C instead of C sharp, but that's what I mean. You can't really see which sounds are labeled, which ones are which. So, in my opinion, that's one of the other big flaws with the FP30. Now, oddly enough, even though the way you switch sounds on the Yamaha is better, what's kind of weird is that Yamaha doesn't actually have like a seamless sound, switch. So, for example, if I play a piano chord, hold it down, and switch to the Rhodes sound, you hear that jump, and then from there, I can play the Rhodes. The Roland actually, believe it or not, has seamless sound transitions. Perfectly seamless. Even though that actually selecting a different sound is a little bit more annoying, especially within the category. If I wanted to go from this Rhodes sound to the clavinet sound, I literally have to take both my hands off the keys to do it. Up here, I only need one. You do have to push a button over and over again to toggle to get to the different sounds, but that's still quicker than taking both your hands off the keys. So it's kind of funny that that's a feature in the Roland, but not in the Yamaha. But overall, that is another not really, I guess it's kind of a flaw. It depends how you look at it. It could be a flaw or it could just be a quirk of the Roland FP30. Again, for home use, being able to quickly change sounds isn't a massive deal, but still it would be difficult to remember all of those, so that might be something to take into effect. So you heard basically all the different piano sounds. I won't really go into depth with all the different acoustic piano sounds. They're basically the same. You've got brighter versions and mellower versions of the same basic piano sound. We did have a harpsichord sound in the piano category here, so, you know. The Roland, and then I think for on the Yamaha, that's here. The Yamaha sounds a bit more vibrant, also has more reverb to it. So that might also be part of the factor, but it's a bit brighter and more realistic sounding. Then down here on the Roland. Now, I completely skipped over the actual sound of the acoustic piano sample, so I think before I move on to any other sounds, I will talk about that. And first, let's play a little bit more music here. This time I will play my treble test piece, which I wrote to test out the treble of acoustic and digital pianos, and we'll try that out on the FP30 and the P125 and see how that goes. So while the piano sound for the Roland FP30 really isn't terrible, the piano sound for the Yamaha, in my opinion, is a lot better, and in comparison, does make the Roland sound considerably inferior. Again, for home practice, for beginner pianists, the Roland piano sound would be perfectly adequate, but definitely, in my opinion, the Yamaha piano sound is a lot better. It sounds more realistic, and it definitely sounds more vibrant and alive, and it sounds more front and center than the Roland, which sounds a bit more muffled and a little bit kind of withdrawn. However, a small flaw with the piano sound of the P125 is something I've mentioned in a couple other videos, is when you play it quietly and you ramp up the volume, it's actually the same exact tone being played louder up until a certain point. Not a massive thing, and actually if you kind of forget that that's an aspect of the P125, you kind of forget about it, but also if you focus on it, it does kind of sound a little bit off at certain points. So not a massive deal, but it is something that I wanted to just mention briefly. At a certain point, the tone does start to change and get brighter like a real piano would, but from pianissimo kind of up until like medium piano, it's kind of a bit like the same sound over and over again. Not a huge deal, but it just was something I wanted to talk about. So now let's move on to the electric piano category, and this here is where I think we'll also see a massive difference in the sound. Let's play a little weird Rhodes test piece I've kind of come up with over the course of making my videos here. It's a little short thing that's kind of a mishmash of various little things. So we'll play that on the FP30 and on the Yamaha P125, and let's see if you guys can hear a sound difference. It's not really much of a piece, but you can get the idea that there is an obvious difference in sounds here with the Rhodes. The Roland has a very strange thing going on here with it. If you listen carefully, you'll hear that as I go up the scale, across the entire register of the instrument, the timbre actually will change from note to note in some cases. Also, the tone in the bass is very, very muted. On the Yamaha, while it doesn't sound exactly like a Fender Rhodes, it does have a bit more bark to it and is a bit more alive. It's not perfect in a very low register, but it sounds more like a Rhodes than this does to me. However, to be fair, the Rhodes, many Rhodes at least, had an EQ, so you could kind of adjust the treble and bass frequencies. So you could get a Rhodes to sound like this, but this immediately sounds more like a Rhodes than this does. This Rhodes, in my opinion, is a lot more fun to play and sounds way better than this Rhodes. So that is the Rhodes sound of both of these, and if we move on here, we have a few different types of electric piano. Up here we have a Yamaha DX7 type of sound. The typical like 70s and 80s ballad, and down here we also have the same type of sound. Once again, the Yamaha's is more vibrant and alive. Up next we have a Wurlitzer 200 type of sound. And down here we have a Wurlitzer 200 type of sound. It's more of a 200A or something a bit more warm, but so those are the Wurlitzer sounds. Obviously, they are considerably different. Up next in the electric piano category, I actually forget what this one is. Oh yeah, it's a pad thing. And down here we have a few different electric pianos. We already tried out the clavinet, I think, didn't we? And then we've also got this, whatever this is. Oh, it's an organ. Okay, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong category here. The whirly. This is the clavinet. Now, there we go, vibes. See, because I have to reach up here with my hand, I actually clicked the wrong sound category and chose an organ sound. So we'll get back to the electric piano category. We got the vibes here, so. Very short sustain on that. Up next, where were we here? No. Yeah, up next we have a celesta sound. If we keep moving here, you have that pad. We also have, wait a minute, hang on, I'm confused. See, this is why I so dislike this. Because I don't know which sound I had, which sound is, we've already covered, where it ends, I guess that's the end, with that bell pad. Okay, so I think that's the whole electric piano category, and then we have the others category, which features some strings. And down here we also have some strings on the Yamaha. Neither of them sound amazing though, to be honest with you. And then we've got slow strings. Up next is a choir for the Yamaha, and then in the strings category, there's a fun pad. Down here in the others category, we have a faster strings, or a synth string, something like that. Then we have a harp, of all things. Again, like with the vibes and the celesta, there's very little sustain. I was holding my pedal down for the whole time, and I'm thinking a real harp would have a bit more sustain than that. What else do we have here? I think up next is some organ sounds, which I'll have to turn the volume down for, like way down. That's another one of the flaws with the Roland FP-30, is that there's a massive volume difference, especially with the organs versus the pianos. Not bad. Kind of a click organ, as they like to call it in the digital piano world, where they have a percussive click at the beginning of each note. The Yamaha does have a few organ sounds too. Here's one of theirs. I do have to turn the volume down a bit for the Yamaha, but it doesn't feel like it's as much for the Roland. Actually, I don't even think it needs to be down that much. So Yamaha's organ sounds are pretty decent. Roland's are also okay. I feel like I like the ones from Yamaha a little bit more, but that's kind of like an overdriven, gritty type of organ. And then I think there's also more organ sounds down here. Yeah, pipe organ. We've got this. Then we've also got, like I said, the pipe organ. Which Yamaha also has a couple of pipe organs, and they sound amazing. A lot more alive than the Roland, and then Roland also has another one. That's a reed organ. There we go, here's the other one. Yamaha's equivalent. Absolutely fantastic church organ sound there for a digital piano. Well, there's also more sounds in the others category. There's the reed organ. Kind of fun. Then there's also strings and choirs and other stuff. This one's kind of fun. Then we've got some more strings and pads and choirs in the others category. We've also got some basses and guitars and stuff here. So there we go. Those are basically all the sounds in the Roland FP30. I think there's also some basses and stuff in here, but as you can see, navigating the sound, this is cool. But navigating the sounds, I don't even know this had that in there. Navigating the sounds of the Roland FP30 is really, in my opinion, a pain, because they're not labeled, which obviously the same keys are for different sounds, so I can see why, but they're not labeled. You have to take your both hands off the keys. That is almost a bigger flaw than the fact that there's no line outs, but that in itself is also another big flaw. Overall, though, the P125, in my opinion, for a general purpose instrument, is the better choice. The FP30 the Yamaha can do just about everything the FP30 can, but the FP30 can't do everything the Yamaha can. The Yamaha is more versatile. You can easily use it on the road or on tour, on location if you wanted to, but it'll also make a fine practice piano, whereas the Roland is kind of going to be homebound, stuck at home, just like many of us right now during these strange times. So the Roland actually maybe is a very good option for this time right now, because you're not going to be wanting to be taking it out on location anyways. But you get my point there, right? The Yamaha P125 is more versatile. The FP30 isn't. So do with that information what you will, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. The one thing I wanted to touch on, though, before we go away, is actually the touch of the FP30. The FP30 uses the PHA4 action, whereas the P125, I think, uses Yamaha's GHS action. The main difference between these two is that the P125 action is a bit lighter and a bit more responsive than the FP30. The FP30 does feel more like a real acoustic piano, but at certain times, for doing certain things, it feels a bit more clumsy, like playing chords repeatedly. You have to use a bit more effort than up here. Do it all day. Down here I have to think more about it and use more muscle to do it. Doesn't repeat quite as well, so that I think is another thing that's not amazing about the FP30, but overall for general purpose playing, the FP30 would be fine. A couple more features that both of these instruments do have in common is the fact that both of them can make some simple recordings. Both of them have a built-in recording software, and they also both have a built-in metronome, which is really handy. The FP30 has one here, and so does the Yamaha. Wrong button. Hang on. Here we go. We have two metronomes going at once, and they were actually lined up for a second there. But that's actually a really nice feature, though, that both of them have a built-in metronome. Really handy for when you're taking your keyboard on the go. You always have a metronome with you. However, not everyone has a digital piano with a built-in metronome, and some of you at home may actually practice on a regular acoustic piano. The metronome is a very valuable tool, so that's why, as a special treat for those of you who have stuck around this long in the video, I am actually going to be giving away this metronome. Now, I haven't used this exact metronome that I'm holding in my hand, but I have used this exact model for many, many years in the past. When I moved from California to the recording studio here in Tennessee, it kind of disappeared in the move, but I do kind of miss it, and as a result, I've bought several of these, and I will be giving one of them away in this video. So this is the Matrix MR600. It's a really fantastic metronome, and I used mine for many years. It was very durable. It fell over many times and never gave me any problems whatsoever. It fell on the floor and tumbled, and It's just a really solid, sturdy built metronome. It even comes with this little earpiece too, so you can plug it in and not bother somebody else with the annoying sounds. Honestly, the sounds this metronome makes are actually pretty nice. Some of the electronic ones can be kind of beepy. This one's not beepy. It has a nice click sound. Overall, I really, really love it. So I'll be giving this metronome away to one of my followers in the comment section of this video. Only rules here are that you do have to be subscribed, but other than that, just leave a comment and I will pick one at random here to give this metronome away. If you don't win this metronome, I will be giving away more metronomes and other cool things like metronomes and tuners combined into one in other videos in the future. So if you're not subscribed, you might want to be subscribed if that is something that you are interested in participating in. So I will be giving this away in the video, so hope you guys enjoy that as well. I also hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. Many people have been asking me for a review and a comparison between the FP30 and the Yamaha P125, so I really do hope that that has informed you and helped you out in your decision of buying a digital piano. If it did, you might want to go check out my channel and maybe think about subscribing as well, because I have lots of cool videos of other digital pianos too. I've got videos of other Roland products, of other Yamaha products, of Kawai products, and also acoustic pianos too. I've got lots of cool videos of acoustic pianos, digital pianos, organs, keyboards, and all kinds of cool things. So if any of that sounds cool, and also if you're interested in the metronome giveaway, you might want to think about subscribing. And if you do subscribe, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.